So what my topic is today is building your business by leveraging relationships. And I'm really excited. For those of you who are here all day today, I have actually 3 more sessions today about social media. Later today, I'm going to be talking about how to build a content strategy, how to create an overall strategy for social media, and then also recruiting for those of you who are brokers in the room. But right now, I'm going to focus on building relationships in social. And for those of you who don't know me, like I said, my name is Katie Lance, and I was previously with Inman News for 3 years. I was their social media director, and I've done a lot of speaking and training, and have really had the opportunity to speak to thousands of real estate professionals. Been doing a lot of traveling. I was just in Long Beach last night for the Women's Council of Realtors, and caught a late flight out here, so I'm drinking the coffee for sure. But what I want to do is start today with a little bit of a story. So I do quite a bit of traveling with what I do. I meet with a lot of different clients. I work with clients in the real estate industry, different companies, and I help different companies figure out what to do in social. And I fly a lot on United, and I have sort of a love-hate relationship with United Airlines. For those of you who fly United, you probably know what I mean. And about a year or so ago, I was flying up to Toronto. I know we've got a few Toronto people here, right? Awesome. Right in the middle, right? Best seat in the house. So I was flying up to Toronto. I flew out of SFO, got on the airplane. Everything was fine. And about 15 minutes into the flight, I heard the sound you just never really want to hear on an airplane, kind of this awful rumbling sound. And within a minute or two, the pilot got on the line and said, "We're terribly sorry, but we're having some slight engine trouble, and we're going to turn around and land at SFO." And so, everyone was a little nervous. We all took out our cell phones. We're all, texting. And I can't say enough great things about the pilot and the crew. We landed. That part was fine. The challenge happened when we got off the airplane. So imagine, if you will, there's 300 people on this airplane, and we exit onto a gate that didn't expect an airplane to come back. And at that gate was another 200 or 300 passengers waiting for their flight. So within this small gate area of Gate 76 at SFO, there was about 500 disgruntled United customers, needless to say. And to be honest, United just didn't know what to do with us. It was not a good experience by any means. They didn't have enough people. It was very frustrating. It was very chaotic. After about 6 hours at the airport, I still never got onto a flight. Unfortunately, had to miss my trip to Toronto, had to go back home. And being the kind of social media person that I am, I did what probably some of you might do as well. I went onto Twitter, and I tweeted United Airlines, my frustration. And I didn't really expect a response back, and I guess no surprise, they didn't respond back. But I did get a response back from someone else. Virgin America. So Virgin tweeted me back and said, "We're so sorry to hear about your experience. Next time you fly, we hope you fly with us." Oh, and by the way, here's a voucher for your next flight. Which is really kind of the cherry on top. Needless to say, I was pretty impressed. Pretty surprised, impressed by the whole thing. I probably told that story, I don't know, a few dozen times at least. Virgin's gotten quite a lot of great PR from me. Ironic that I'm telling this story today because literally yesterday I was in SFO, and one of my favorite airlines to fly to New York City is Virgin. And I check in and I'm on Foursquare and I said, "I love Virgin, I'm excited to be here." And within 10 minutes, Virgin tweeted me back and said, "We love you too." So I said, you're impressing me. The reason why I'm telling you this whole story is it was a really great reminder to me, the power of social. We're all walking around with these devices. We've got the internet in the palm of our hands, and so many of us, I'm sure we've all done this at some point. You're out in a restaurant, or you're out somewhere and you have a really great experience, or you have a really bad experience. And what do? You share it on Facebook, you post it on Twitter, you post it on Yelp, wherever you might be. And one of the things I've learned is just because you aren't there doesn't mean the conversation isn't happening, right? Just because United Airlines didn't tweet me back didn't mean someone else didn't take advantage of that opportunity. And I tell that story because although, of course, Virgin has a multi-million-dollar budget, as a real estate agent, as a broker, I still think we have a really big opportunity to connect with people and to build a relationship and to kind of surprise and delight people. And so what I'm going to share with you today are some of the things that I see as I get a chance to travel the country and work with a lot of real estate agents and really see how agents are leveraging social. And a big piece of that is how they're using it to build relationships in their business. So how can you use social media in a meaningful way? It's kind of the million-dollar question, right? There's a lot of buzz about social and how to use social, and you ask 10 different people how to use social, and you'll probably get 10 different responses. But one of the things that I'm really passionate about is talking about not just how to use it in a right way, but how do you use it to build your business? Because let's face it, social, just like any other tool, is one more tool for your business. You know, whether it's a newspaper ad or a billboard or some of the traditional marketing we've seen in the past, social doesn't necessarily replace that, but it's a whole new tool for us to use. So these are some of the things I'm going to cover today. I'm going to talk a little bit about Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Thank you for the coffee again. What it means to build relationships in social, how to do that effectively to build your business, and then how to be efficient with your time, which I think is really key. You know, sometimes Facebook can be a little bit of a time suck, right? You jump on Facebook and all of a sudden an hour later you're caught up chatting with someone that you went to high school with and playing Farmville, and you know, all of a sudden your whole morning is shot. So we're going to talk a little bit about being efficient with your time. Sound good? Okay. I'm not going to stand too close here because I'm going to start to whistle. So one of the reasons why social works is the personal piece of it. And I think that this is so appropriate to talk about with real estate, because real estate is such a personal business, right? It's a really kind of intimate experience you have with your customers. And the reason why social works is because of you. I think a lot of times in real estate we think, well, I want to have an assistant help me with social, or I need someone to kind of help me with this whole process. And I'll be the first to say it's fine to get some help. It's fine to have someone to kind of help you with it. But there's also a piece of it that works because of you, right? If you think about it, it's almost like if you had a dinner party with your 10 best clients, your most amazing clients, and at that dinner party, would you have your assistant there, or would you be there? Right? And that's really the difference when we talk about social. It's not black or white. A lot of times when I talk to agents, I hear, well, I've got my business life over here, and I've got my personal life over here, and I really want to keep them separate. And I want to say, I respect that, but at the same time, we live in a world right now where it's not really black or white, right? It's a little bit of gray. And now that doesn't mean you necessarily need to share everything and anything with everybody in your life, but it's important to realize that the reason why people connect with you is because of some of the personal piece of who you are, right? So people will hire you because of your experience, because of your expertise. Maybe you were referred by someone they know and they trust. But why do they connect with you? They connect with you because you're a mom, or you're a grandmother, or you love dogs, or you're into wine, or you're a sports nut, or you're a foodie, or you love New York, or whatever it might be. We all have these kind of passions and interests that we just naturally connect with other people, right? Have you ever had that feeling where you're like, I just connect with that person? And a lot of that is because of that personal piece of it. These are some of the ways that I connect. So those are my two boys right there, Owen and Luke. No relation to the Wilson brothers. But I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, so they get a lot of exposure on Facebook. Now, I don't post every moment of their lives. I don't think that's appropriate, but I do share a piece of that because for me, that's something that's important, where I connect with people. And I have to say, so many times I get off stage or I'm done speaking or whatever, and I can't tell you how many people come up to me and say, I'm so glad you talk about your family. Because I think it is sometimes easy to try to separate it into different compartments in our life. You'll see a lot about travel. I do a lot of traveling for what I do, so I post a lot of travel photos. I'm a big wine person, so you'll see a lot of wine photos for me as well. There's my family from a few days ago. We had birthdays and all kinds of fun stuff. So for me, it's really important. And when I look at agents who are leveraging social, they've got a really solid content strategy, which I'm going to talk actually about later today for those of you who are around for some of my later sessions. But they also are really leveraging who they are personally. I also know who they are and who they aren't. So this is not me. Some people are great cooks. If you're someone who loves to bake and cook, then that would be a great thing for you to post. But that's not me. So how can you leverage social? So I want to kind of give you some really kind of actionable things that you could take away and do right away into your business. One of the best ways to leverage social is to celebrate moments. So there's all these amazing moments that happen in real estate. This is a real photo. This was posted by a good friend of mine. He's realtor Chris Spiker, one of his clients, literally jumping for joy. And, you know, I think in real estate we've got these moments, right, where someone gets their keys to their house for the first time ever, or they're signing their documents finally, or they're holding the sold sign. And I think sometimes we forget. You know, we've got a lot of clients and transactions, and we've got all these plates we're spinning. But I think it's really important that we take a moment and celebrate these moments. And it's one of the best things that you can do in social. You know, posting something like that, posting what it feels like to capture that moment. And then guess what? You know, this excited lady, so she was posted on Facebook. She sees it from her agent. What do you think she's going to do? She's going to share it out, right, with her 100 or 200 or 500 friends that she's connected to. Here's another great example. Maura Neal, she's a realtor out in Atlanta, uses Instagram really well to capture these moments. And of course, you ask their permission, right? But just something like this, and it's a way to talk about real estate without talking about real estate. I think the other way that's important to mention is you're making people feel really special. You're validating that this is a really huge thing in their life. I mean, I remember I guess it was about a year or so ago, my husband and I bought a brand new car. Not as big as a house, but brand new car, right? And we were really, really excited. I was actually kind of surprised, like how excited we were, right? And I remember when we went back to get the car, and the dealer handed us our keys, and he could tell we were pretty excited. And he said, "Can I take your picture? Can we put it on our Facebook page?" I said, "Yes, you're capturing this moment." Exactly. So it's really validating. It really helps to tell the story of how people are feeling about this. I also think one of the best ways we can leverage social is to do a few things. So to be a good finder. Be a good finder. You know, people are sharing more on social than ever before. Just out of curiosity, how many of you have been in the business more than 10 years? Raise your hand. Okay, almost all of you. How about more than 20 years? Okay, more than 30? Nice. A few people, more than 40? 40 years? Awesome. Let's give that person a round of applause. Awesome. So the reason why I ask that is if you've been in the business for more than probably about 10 years, you realize that back in the day, we didn't really know a whole lot about our customers. We might have known their anniversary date and maybe their birthday and their kids' names and, you know, some basic things. But social's kind of changed the whole landscape of what we know about people, right? People are sharing more than ever before. We know when their kids are playing Little League. They know we know when they went on vacation, what they had for breakfast. We know, sometimes too much information, right? But one of the things we can do is really be a good finder and recognize when someone, is doing something really amazing. Maybe they got a job promotion. Pay attention. I think that's a big thing as well, just paying attention. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how to be really intentional with your business, with social. And also surprising and delighting people. I think about my experience with Virgin and, was really surprised and really delighted by that. I want to share a few things that you can do to really kind of surprise and delight people. So Facebook voice messages are a really cool thing. This is actually a fairly new thing, new enough where most of the time when I talk about it, most people have no idea what that is. And so what a Facebook voice message is literally a voice message. You can send a private voice message to someone, a 1-minute message in length. The way you do this is through the Facebook Messenger app. So some of you might know there's the regular Facebook app, and then Facebook has a number of other apps. One of them is the Facebook Messenger app. The Facebook Messenger app allows you to send private text messages back and forth. It basically just manages the private messaging piece of Facebook. But you can also send voice messages. And you might think, well, I could just pick up the phone and call them, right? Well, sure, you could do that too. But there's something kind of cool about being within the Facebook framework and leaving someone a voice message. And I have to say, every time I've ever left someone a voice message, I get the response of, "That was really cool, how did you do that?" Because I didn't expect it on Facebook. So, it's someone's birthday. Sure, I could post on their wall and say happy birthday. Or I could leave them a 10-second message, say, "Hey, so-and-so, I saw it was your birthday, hope you're having a great day today." Right? Just a little thing to kind of surprise and delight people, being a good finder. The other thing that's pretty cool and fairly new with Facebook are Facebook gifts. If you go to facebook.com/gifts, you can see what Facebook gifts are all about. I have to admit, I'm a little addicted to Facebook gifts because it's so easy to use, so easy to give gifts. What's nice about Facebook gifts is it's very simple. Basically, you go on there, you pick who you want to give a gift to. You have to be friends with that person. And it then takes you to a page where it suggests what that person might like, which is sometimes a little creepy to me with how much Facebook knows, but it gives some gift suggestions. And you can give a $5 Starbucks card, you can give a $5 iTunes card, you can give a donation in someone's name, you can give a bottle of wine, all kinds of things. And what I found is that Facebook gifts are a great way to just kind of surprise somebody, right? One of my good friends, Lexi, out in the Bay Area, just posted on her Facebook page yesterday, that she got a new job. And I could have been one of the 50 people that said congratulations, which I did, but I also sent her a $5 Starbucks card with a note that said, hey Lexi, congratulations, I just saw the news, good for you. And it was just a little thing, right? Not a big deal. But one of the things I'm seeing with agents who are leveraging Facebook gifts is they're making it just part of their business, where they're being really intentional about once a month being a good finder and surprising and delighting people. What's nice about this as well is you don't need to know their address, which I love because half the time we don't have people's addresses on our phones, right? So you put in their name as long as you're connected to them on Facebook, pick the gift, they get a notification, they click accept, they put their address in, and it's easy as pie. I mentioned also with Facebook gifts you can give donations. This is actually a really cool feature. You can give donations to different organizations that participate with Facebook gifts. I recently gave a donation to Girls Inc. to a good friend of mine, Susie. She's an agent out in Arizona. And Susie's very big into working with young girls and women in leadership. And so for her birthday, I thought, well, this is appropriate, right? And I gave her a $10 donation in this particular organization's name. The other way to be very intentional with social is to use Facebook lists. And I know there's probably been a lot of talk about Facebook lists. If you've come to any social media sessions or been to any webinars, people usually talk a lot about Facebook lists. But I really want to talk about it here because it's one of the most important things when you think of how can I leverage Facebook, especially your personal profile, right? A lot of what I'm talking about today exists with you personally, right? Of course, there's a business page, and you can have a business page. Probably a lot of you have business pages. I actually don't think every agent necessarily needs a business page. That might be a controversial thing to say in a room full of agents. But the reason why I don't necessarily think an agent always needs a business page is because a business page takes a lot of work, right? We've all sort of seen those business pages that kind of look like, I always say, Facebook graveyards, where that agent probably had the best of intentions, and they set up this page, and then they got busy, right? And nothing's been posted there, and nothing is really happening. So a lot of what I'm talking about today is really leveraging your personal profile for business. And using Facebook lists to weed through the noise of Facebook is a really great way to be intentional with your business. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more what I'm talking about here. So I have a link down here at the bottom. If you can't read it, I'll read it out loud here. It's facebook.com/bookmarks/lists. So facebook.com/bookmarks/lists. Now, I'll be the first to say Facebook doesn't make it easy to create lists. I don't know why. They didn't ask me. But this is the link that you go to. Now, if you really want to be super organized, you can organize all of your friends in a list. That takes a lot of time. So I recommend, as a minimum, you create 2 lists. The first list is your client list. So this is a list of people that you're actively working with, that you're friends with on Facebook. And this list will, it's probably not a huge list. Maybe it's 5 or 10 or 15, 20, probably a fairly small list of your active clients. The second list is your potential clients. So these are people you potentially could work with in the next 12 to 18 months. They might be your renters. They might be, people who have children that might be looking to buy a home. Just people that you think might be a client in the next year to year and a half. So you're going to create these 2 lists. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take 10 minutes every morning. And if you do nothing else in social, do this. Take 10 minutes every morning, and you log into Facebook, and you look at each one of those lists. You click on your client list, and then you look at your potential client list, And now instead of seeing the 500 friends that you're connected to, you're just going to see your 10 clients or your 20 potential clients. And what are you going to see? Well, you're going to see that they just went to Hawaii. They went out to dinner last night. Their kids are in Little League. You're going to see what they ate for breakfast. You're going to see all the different things that they post. And then what do? You authentically engage with them. You click like. You comment. You share. Now, be authentic. Be real. Don't click like on everything. Don't be that person. But you authentically engage with them. And you might go, well, what's the big deal? Well, this is how you build relationships in social media. This is something I do. I'm a big fan of practicing what I preach. And I'm in the business of social media, yet there's many days where it's like, I don't even have time to get on Facebook. But at a minimum, I take 10 minutes every morning, before you get into email, by the way. Because once you open email, you know how that goes. You're gone for the morning. So you take a few minutes and you look at those, and you look at the people you want to interact with. You like, you comment, you share. The reason why this is so powerful is that relationships are built with small interactions over the course of time. Really important. Relationships are built with small interactions over the course of time. Every like and comment and share, that's how you build a relationship. You know, a few people have asked me, well, how have I gotten to know some of the people I've gotten to know with Coldwell Banker? It's because of things like this, of just being really intentional and connecting and making a really intentional effort to connect with some of the people I really wanted to connect with. You know, I look out in the audience and I see people that I've been friends with through social, and a big piece of that is because I've been intentional about connecting. And so this is a huge thing. This also happens in real life, right? Where you run into you meet someone for the first time. Maybe at Gen Blue you meet someone for the first time, you know, and then 6 months later you run into them at a local event in your area, and then, you know, another few months later you become Facebook friends, and then over time you've gotten to know that person. The same thing happens on social. The cool thing with social is, for whatever reason, the whole process of building a relationship sort of gets amplified on social. You almost get to know people a little bit faster because of this whole online thing that happens. So what's the end goal? This might be a little controversial to post up at a real estate conference, but the end goal with social is not necessarily to sell the house, it's to build a relationship. And I think it's a really important distinction, because in the past, all of our marketing has been focused on either the agent and building up your own branding, your own marketing, or listings, right? And selling the house. And social kind of falls in the middle of all of that. It's kind of the cousin to all of that. So I encourage you to really kind of change your mindset. If you're thinking of how can I use social to build my business, literally one of the best ways to do it is to use it as that relationship building tool. I want to kind of segue into Facebook groups, because Facebook groups offer another really great opportunity to build a relationship, to build camaraderie, to build a relationship with the people you want to build a relationship with. There's a real power of community. Just out of show of hands, how many of you are part of a Facebook group right now? Okay, so most of you. So as all of you know, there's a variety of groups, right? There's public groups, there's closed, and then there's private, or I like to call secret, right? Secret groups. And there's benefits to all of them. There's some really great public groups that are out there. In fact, there's two really enormous Facebook groups out there that are really kind of cool to be a part of. There's one called the Tech Support Group for Real Estate Agents. Tech Support Group for Real Estate Agents. If you were just to put that in the search bar in Facebook, you'd find that. There's about 7,000 real estate agents in that group. There's also a group called What Should I Spend My Money On? So again, if you go up to Facebook and just type in What Should I Spend My Money On, it'll probably come right up. There's about 5,000 or 6,000 real estate agents in there. And those are both really kind of great groups where, you know, you're thinking about buying something, you're thinking about investing in something, you know, a product or service. You know, you kind of do a little crowdsourcing and see who's bought it, who hasn't bought it. There's always some interesting conversations in some of those groups. But the other really cool part of Facebook groups is the ability to have some small private groups. And with some of the clients I've gotten a chance to work with, I have to tell you, there's a lot of, at the risk of sounding corny, there's a lot of magic that happens when you have a small private group, especially if it's your team, whether it's an office or just a small team. You know, back in the day, if you had news that you would send out, you would send it out through email, right? You send a big group email, which, you know, let's face it, probably you're still getting a lot of email from your broker or other people, you know, within Coldwell Banker. And that's fine, but aren't we inundated with email? I don't know about you, but every day I feel like it's like a race to the bottom, like, can I get through all my email, right? Can I get to inbox zero? Which I'm never at inbox zero, but it's just like a race to get through the day. And so there's really kind of an advantage to having a private group. You know, whether you're a broker, whether you're an agent, there's all different types of groups that you can create on Facebook. I've got a few examples here. I've seen teams, you know, small teams of 5, 6, 7, 8 people create groups on Facebook, mastermind groups. If you're in kind of an accountability group or a coaching group, those are great kind of small groups to create on Facebook. Community groups. We're seeing this really kind of grow and especially over the last few years, a lot of agents are taking advantage of kind of being that local expert. So they're creating a community group for their neighborhood or for their community, and they're inviting in, you know, other local people, restaurant owners and people in the school district, and really kind of having a community group where people can post job postings and, you know, apartments for rent and things like that. All of this, of course, takes a little bit more management, so you want to make sure you have a little bit of extra time or people who can help you with that. But neighborhood groups as well. I have to say, though, out of all these groups, really the one that I've seen foster and really done an amazing thing for is when you've got your team, and you've got your team of agents or your sort of office in a group. Because you can post things like, you know, you can recognize different agents, you can recognize some exciting things that are happening, post company updates, things like that. As far as a strategy for having for Facebook groups, I've got a few things up here. So posting consistently. This is one thing across anything with Facebook you'll see me say is posting consistently. You want to know the secret to success of Facebook? Be there consistently. And Facebook groups is no different. Have a plan. Usually when you create a Facebook group, especially if it's for your team of agents, you need to kind of prod them along. You need to kind of, you know, you can't just set it up and hope something will happen. So have a plan, ask questions, get people involved, recognize people. That's one of the best things that you can do in a group is recognize, hey, I want to recognize so-and-so. They just had a great, you know, awesome sale last week or whatever it might be. And really add value. You know, a Facebook group can be a great opportunity to add value to your team, really give some great expertise. Okay, I talked a lot about Facebook, so I want to kind of transition into Instagram, because Instagram is a great tool to build relationships for your business. So Instagram is growing. It is, just to give you a few stats, 12 million users in the first 12 months with Instagram. Instagram has had 30 million users in the first 2 years. And when it was released on the Android, there was 1 million new users in the first 12 hours, which is pretty incredible. And we're seeing a lot of agents really leverage Instagram. So for those of you probably know, or if you don't know, that's okay too. So Instagram is an app available on all different devices. It's a photo editing app, so you can edit and make beautiful photos, but it's also its own social network. So it's its own, you know, kind of mini Facebook in some ways, where people can like and comment. I will say there's a lot of benefits to being a part of a smaller platform. It's funny, there's quite a number of people I'm connected to on Facebook and Twitter, but because I'm also connected to them on Instagram, I know them a little bit better. And I think part of it's because it's still a smaller network. The other thing that's interesting is, we talked about earlier, connecting with people. People connect with photos. You know, you think of when someone shares their photos of their kids, of their family, that's how we connect. And Instagram is such an easy way to connect. If you're the kind of person that just loves to take photos and you're always the person snapping photos of New York or whatever you're doing, then Instagram might be the perfect platform for you, because it's simple, it's easy to use, and it's a great place to be. Here's a couple examples of some really kind of cool things that we're seeing with Instagram. Of course, you've got the regular filters, but there's also some other kind of fun apps. There's an app called Over, O-V-E-R, that allows you to put text over photos. This is from a good friend of mine, Raj Kassar, who is an agent in Orange County, California, and does a great job of using social media to kind of give people just a sneak peek. You know, like, how do you talk about a listing without, like, the normal way of talking about a listing, right? Normally, if you were to talk about a listing, you'd say, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, beautiful view, granite backsplash, open Sunday 1 to 4, come on by, right? And that's how traditional marketing would be. Well, in social, you can certainly talk about some of your listings. Again, it's not really about selling the house. So how do you talk about it but make it fun and interesting. And I think this is a great way to do it, just really kind of beautiful photography. I want to give a couple great examples of a few people who are really doing a great job in Instagram. Alex Pino is a great example. He posts a ton of beautiful photos of architecture. And what's interesting about this is he's really sort of built his brand by talking about architecture and talking about the different things that, different areas that he works in. Cindy Hayden's another great example. She's an agent out in the Tampa area and posts beautiful photos of the beach and palm trees and all the beautiful places we'd love to go. But again, all these photos talk about her personally, so you'll see photos of her family and things that she likes to do, but also photos of her listings and photos of what it feels like to live in the area. And I have to say, from following Cindy for quite some time on Instagram, I get a pretty darn good sense of what it feels like to live in her area, right? And she's really kind of branding herself as that agent in Tampa just because of the beautiful photos that she posts. I think the other great way to use images is to really tell a story. This is one of my favorite examples. I think, we do this on just about every listing, right? We do the staging. We've always got the before, we've got the after. And I think, what a cool idea on Instagram to just kind of show that before and after. Twitter is also a really great opportunity to build relationships. And whenever I talk about Twitter, I always have people who either love Twitter or they don't get Twitter, or they're somewhere in between there. And I can certainly relate. I remember the first time I used Twitter. It was 2007. I had heard about this new platform and went onto Twitter, and there was a big box that said, "What are you doing right now?" And at the time, I was eating a donut. So I typed in, "I'm eating a donut." Hit enter. Just waited and thought, well, that was kind of stupid. What's the point? And it wasn't until about a year later when I went to an Inman conference, this is before I worked for Inman, that I really kind of got Twitter. So I want to share a few things about how to leverage Twitter to build relationships. So one of the keys to using Twitter really well, especially when it comes to building relationships, is to keep it short and simple. So you have 140 characters with Twitter. And I remember when I first started, I would use every single letter, every single character. But you want to try to keep it short and sweet. I will say by using Twitter, you become a better writer because you become very succinct. Generally speaking, tweets that are under 100 characters have close to 20% more engagement. One thing I always like to say with Twitter is no tweet left behind. I can never talk about Twitter and not say this. So if you're tweeting right now, make sure you tweet that, no tweet left behind. Which means anytime someone takes the time to reach out to me, to tweet me, to mention me in a post, it's important that I respond. And maybe that response is just a smiley face. Maybe it's saying thank you. Maybe it's retweeting. But this is something that's really important, not just on Twitter, but on every platform. On Instagram, if someone tags me in a photo here at Gen Blue, I'm going to respond. Facebook, someone tags me in a comment or post a photo or whatever it might be, I'm going to respond. And it's a little thing, and it's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. And I have to tell you, it's one of the ways I've really been able to build relationships is no tweet left behind. So it's not easy to do. I have a few systems in place. I have push notifications to my phone, so I always know if someone's mentioned me or sent me a message. So being smart about it, I'm not on Facebook all day. The other thing with Twitter, there's a really big opportunity is to search different people and to find different people on Twitter. I remember when I first started on Twitter, I didn't know who to follow. And one of the best things to do when you first start on Twitter is to follow people you already know. But Twitter is a great tool to expand your sphere and to meet people you don't know. And a lot of people aren't aware of the advanced search function in Twitter. And if you just Google advanced search in Twitter, you'll come right to the page. What's really cool about this is you can search different terms and you can search geography. So you could go into the advanced search feature on Twitter and search house hunting, or looking for a home, or looking for a realtor, or moving to New York. You could put in any sort of phrase, and then you can dig into where those tweets are coming from. So you could say, okay, I want to see every tweet that says looking for a realtor within 50 miles of Manhattan, right? Which is really kind of cool. Now you do that, and now you'll see a list of tweets. Now, do you want to just jump in and say, hi, I'm a realtor, call me today? No, you don't want to do that. But you want to do kind of what Virgin did for me, right? Where they said, hey, if you have any questions, if there's anything I can help you with, please let me know. I'd love to be a resource for you. This is what I like to call farming on Twitter. And it's a really great way to leverage Twitter. And if you're someone in the audience who's thinking, okay, well, how can I leverage Twitter? How can I leverage it to really kind of expand my sphere? This is a great tool. Now, in terms of building relationships with Twitter, I will say Twitter is one of the best ways that I've really gotten to know people, just by following different people. I've been able to follow people locally to me and then have gotten to know them. I start following them. I might put them on a list in Twitter of people that are local in my area, follow what they're talking about, retweet. I have to say there's a lot of power in the retweet. So a retweet, for those of you who don't know, is when you take a tweet and you turn around and you send it back out to the people who follow you. And you might only have 100 or 200 or 50 followers or whatever it might be, but when you have someone with 10,000 followers or 20,000 followers and they retweet you and then someone else retweets you, the power is pretty incredible. And so a lot of exponential benefits to Twitter. You certainly can't reach 20,000 people through email marketing. Well, I guess you could, but not in the same way. So really, really kind of cool opportunity when it comes to Twitter. The other thing with Twitter is hashtags. So I get asked all the time about hashtags. What the heck's a hashtag? Hashtag is the # you see right there, right? So we've got Gen Blue as the hashtag. And a hashtag is really simply a word that you can search on Twitter. So you could search #real estate, #NYC, #NYCRE is a big one for New York real estate. Most events have hashtags. I kind of relate it to way back in the day when there were CB radios and you had different channels, right? I'm going really old school here. And that's a little bit what a hashtag is. So if you're new to Twitter, if you've never even been on Twitter, I encourage you, while you're at Gen Blue, download the Twitter app, it's free, set up a free account, and then just go into the search feature and type in #GenBlue. And you'll see all this conversation from people, from agents all over the country who are here, who are talking, who are sharing photos. And one of the ways that I really got into Twitter myself was from one of my first events I went to. Again, had only tweeted that one tweet about a donut and not done a whole lot. And, wanted to kind of step back and go, okay, well, what are people tweeting about? And looked on the event hashtag and was really able to connect with people and meet people. One of the reasons why you're here at Gen Blue, obviously, is to meet and network with people all across the country, right? And using hashtags is a great example. So searching out the conference hashtag, really one of the best ways to start on Twitter. LinkedIn. All right, so I know I covered Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. So if you're like most people, you go to an event, you meet a lot of people, you come back home with a stack of business cards, and then what happens? Right, they end up on your desk, in the bottom of your purse, right? I'm guilty of that. I have a few business cards from the last few events I've been to. But I want to talk a little bit about how to leverage connections that you make, especially at events, because I know all of you are going to go home with at least a few business cards from people that you met. So one of the things I try to do is within 48 hours of the end of an event, I take those business cards and I search those people out on LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn is one of the best ways to connect with someone. It's a professional environment. I could send them a Facebook request, but you know how it goes when you get a Facebook request. Sometimes you know them, sometimes you don't know them. You're not sure if you should accept. I don't know, right? A little bit of that awkward dance. But LinkedIn is that sort of safe professional network. So I go onto LinkedIn and I search out that person. If they're on LinkedIn, then I send them a personal request to connect. And I say, hey, so-and-so, it was great to meet you at the Gen Blue event. I'd love to connect with you here on LinkedIn. And what I found is the benefit of doing that is it's the first step into social. So when you meet someone for the first time, maybe it's at an open house, or maybe it's at a networking event, or maybe it's at Gen Blue, how do you take that connection and then move it beyond just grabbing their business card? And sure, you can add their name and email to your database or whatever it might be, but how do you move that to social? And one of the best ways to do that is through LinkedIn. And there's a lot of benefits to LinkedIn. LinkedIn a lot of times is what I call the set it and forget it network, where you've set it up a long time ago and you haven't done a whole lot with it. But if you're someone like that, I encourage you to look at your LinkedIn profile. There's a lot of benefits to having an updated profile on LinkedIn. For someone who is referred to you, one of the first things that they might do is Google you. And you don't know that they Google you, but they all Google you. They want to check you out. And one of the first things that comes up when you're Googled is your LinkedIn profile. And if it's not updated, there's sometimes that perception that you're out of business. So it's one of the first places to start in social. I get asked all the time, where should I start on social? And LinkedIn is one of the best places to start because it's a great place to connect. It's a great place to really network on a professional level. A few tips to LinkedIn. So if you haven't updated your profile in a while, I encourage you do that. Now, for those of you who've been in the business a long time, you don't necessarily need to put your 40 years of experience. You certainly could, but at least the last 10 years, right? And especially, what are you doing right now? So many times on LinkedIn, I go on there and I see someone's, job profile or position, and then that's it. So if you haven't done it in a while, I encourage you to go into LinkedIn, fill out your profile, fill out your expertise. It doesn't need to be, a whole essay, but have a paragraph or two of your expertise. The other thing with LinkedIn that's really important, there's a section within LinkedIn to put in your keywords and expertise. It's actually called your skills and expertise section. Make sure that section is filled out. And you can put in as many keywords as you like. 5 or 10 is usually fine. One of the things I'd recommend with your LinkedIn profile, though, is that you put in specific cities that you work. So, for example, for me, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I live in this little pocket of the East Bay called the Tri-Valley. Well, if you're from the Tri-Valley, you know exactly what the Tri-Valley is, but if you're from anywhere else in the country, you have no idea what that means, right? So if I were a real estate agent, I would make sure I would put in, I specialize in working in Pleasanton, Dublin, San Ramon, Walnut Creek, all the areas that are the Tri-Valley. So I just want to give you a couple tips here. I'm going to talk more about LinkedIn later today when I talk about content strategy and really honing your social media strategy, but it's a really important piece of the puzzle in terms of connecting with people. So I want to close, and I've got some, my purpose was to close early, so I've got some time for questions, because I know there's always questions about social. So a few things here. Number one, be personal. This is one of the most important things with social. Sometimes it's easy to forget about the personal piece of it, but I really encourage you to be personal in your social. The second thing is pick the platforms that make the most sense to you. So you don't have to be all things to all people. You don't have to be everywhere. I was in the hallway earlier talking to someone about Google Plus, right? And she's like, I'm stuck into Google Plus. And I have to admit myself, I haven't fallen in love with Google Plus. I use it because I know it's important, but it's not something I love. Like I love Facebook. So pick a platform or two that just clicks with you. Whether it's Facebook, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it might be, and use those to build relationships. Be intentional. That's a big piece of it as well. If you do anything, I really encourage you to reach out to people through LinkedIn, like I talked about, but also to create those lists, to create Facebook lists. You can also create Twitter lists, by the way. Those Facebook lists that I mentioned earlier, those are private lists too, so your clients won't know that they're on a list. But be intentional. That's a huge piece of it. And then understand the biggest opportunity we have in social is to build relationships, to use social as a communication tool. So I'm going to open it up to questions. We've got a couple microphones, one here and one here. If anyone has any questions, feel free to head to the mic, and we've got a few minutes here. Yes?
Hi, Katie. My name is Clemens. We are actually connected on Facebook. I didn't even know you were here, so it's very nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Quick question regarding the hashtags. I have no idea about that. If I understood you correctly, you can go into Twitter, you put the pound and the phrase that you're looking for. Mm-hmm. That's for the search. What I don't get is that so many people put this in their postings on Facebook. Right. They put the pound and then whatever. Right. Why do they do that?
Okay, great question. Great question. Anybody have a similar question about that? Because I always get questions about hashtags. Yes, it's kind of one of those confusing things. Twitter doesn't really do a great job of explaining what that is. So when you're sending out a tweet, you don't have to, but you could include a hashtag or two. And so if you're sending out a tweet, let's say you found a great article from the New York Times about the housing market, and it was a great article. So you might say, great article, via the New York Times, here's the link. And that would be just, a fine tweet. But you could also add a hashtag at the end of that. So you might add hashtag real estate, or hashtag housing, or hashtag economy. What's great about hashtags is, in a way, there's really no rules. So what I do with hashtags is I look at what the tweet's about, especially if it's an article, if it's about real estate or housing or my local area, and I'll include one or two hashtags. Especially if it's a local article, like if you're from Denver or San Francisco, or wherever you're from, including hashtag San Francisco, hashtag SF, hashtag NYC. Because the benefit to doing that is if someone goes into Twitter and they search pound real estate, pound SF, pound NYC, then your tweets are going to come up because you've included a hashtag in your tweets. Now don't go hashtag crazy. Those of you who've been on Twitter a while know that some people go a little crazy and they're like 10 hashtags. Don't do that. All right. But one or two, especially if you're sharing an article or sharing an Instagram photo. I see a lot of that with Instagram photos where you've got a great photo and you might put a hashtag like hashtag sunset or a hashtag, whatever your city might be. And it's just a great way to kind of be found on Twitter. So does that help? Okay, awesome, great question. Anybody else have any other questions? Yeah, come on down. It's like so bright.
Hi, Katie. I'm John Gastaska. I'm a Manhattanite.
Awesome.
And I loved what you had to say. I think it's
Thank
great. I personally am overwhelmed by social media. And we work really, 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 really hard. So the idea of spending time on Facebook and Twitter, I am over Twitter. I am one of those people that I started to tweet and I'm like, I can't do this. And I can't do this. That looms in my brain. So I get great ideas here and I think, I can't do this.
So you're
So
stuck.
I want to do better.
Right.
And I've pushed myself on Facebook. I think that what you said about LinkedIn is great, and I'm a LinkedIn person, and it's kind of set it and forget it. I guess maybe just practical steps on tweeting, maybe.
Sure.
Where to go with tweeting, and then I thought you gave great examples on Facebook, so I'll
Thank you.
take that. But and then Virgin America is great, but just kind of elaborate a little bit more on Twitter. That would be great.
Sure, no problem. Well, first I would say, if you really don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to use it, first of all. Twitter, it's one of those things that it's actually fairly simple, but it seems really complicated. It's simple in the sense that all it is 140 characters, right? I kind of equate it to as if, imagine if only Facebook was just your status update. That's what Twitter is, right? So to get started with Twitter, I will say Twitter moves a lot faster than Facebook, right? You go on Facebook and you might say, well, what happened today on Facebook? You go on Twitter and you say, well, what happened in the last 5 minutes on Twitter? It moves really, really quick. So to be successful on Twitter, you needed to tweet more than just once in a blue moon. And so there's a lot of tools that will help you do that. And actually later today, during a couple of my other sessions, I'm going to talk about that. There's a great tool called Hootsuite, which is a great example, Hootsuite, where you can actually schedule some tweets out. Now, you don't want to schedule, months in advance or anything like that, but you could go in and actually schedule 3 or 4 or 5 tweets to kind of drip out later in the day. I call it like drip marketing for Twitter. So you could go in, you could spend 10 minutes in the morning, find a couple articles that are of interest, maybe post one of those to Facebook, maybe post a few of them to Twitter. I will say with Twitter, it does move fast. So, thinking of can I tweet 3, 4, 5 times a day? Which for a lot of people it's daunting because, you're busy, you're an agent, you've got a lot of things on your plate. I would say, start with LinkedIn, like where you're at, start with Facebook, start implementing some of those things. Do those really well because generally most of your clients and potential clients are there. There's not as many people on Twitter. With Twitter, you're going to get a lot of the really tech savvy. A lot of millennials are there. So, I would say master kind of Facebook and LinkedIn, get really comfortable with that, and just start with 10 or 15 minutes a day. Thanks. Any other questions? Yeah, if you can come over to the microphone, if you don't mind. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize there was a bar there. I'm sorry. Sorry, gymnastics here.
So we were encouraged a few, I think it was at an IBC, to have a work Facebook page in addition to a personal one.
Yes.
Do you like just one, or do you have a work one? And if you have a work one, how do you keep it personal without being kind of boring or just work?
Sure, that's a great question. So you've got your personal profile on Facebook. Sorry, didn't mean to make you climb over bars here. So first of all, you have to have a personal profile on Facebook to do anything else on Facebook. Facebook kind of requires that. I think there's a big opportunity for business pages. I don't necessarily think every single agent needs a business page, only because, in my opinion, and some people might disagree with me, but in my opinion, if you have a business page and you're not doing anything with it, I almost feel like that looks worse than not having anything at all. So if you have a business page, you want to have a strategy with that. And I'm going to actually, if you're able to come to some of my sessions later today, I'm going to talk a lot about content strategy specifically for business pages, because I think that's an important topic. So on a business page, I would obviously post anything business related, market stats and community information. But I think if you can keep it personal in the sense that photos is a great example. So community photos is a great way to kind of keep things personal. Photos of maybe you and your family doing something in the community, philanthropy that you might be doing, or any sort of charity work that you might be doing. So you might not post all your kids' birthday photos on your business page, but you might post a family photo from time to time, or you might post something personally that you're involved in, or photos of you and a couple of your best friend agents at the office hanging out and having a cup of coffee or whatever. Might sound silly, but some of those things, that's a great way to be personal on your business page without necessarily posting everything you would on your personal profile. Do I have any overlap between the two? Sometimes. So sometimes, for example, for me personally, I might post something on my business page, right? And then I might share that post on my business page on my personal profile. I don't do that all the time, and I don't recommend people do that all the time, but sometimes you might have more friends than you have people who like your page, and you want your friends to see that. So I'd recommend, if you have a personal profile and a business page once a month or so, if it's a really important update, you take that update and you share that on your personal profile. So great question. I'm getting the flashlight, so I'm just about out of time. The best way to connect with me, I'm going to put my contact information up here. My website, katielance.com. I've got a newsletter you can sign up for. I promise I won't spam you. But if you're looking for social media tips and tricks and all kinds of good stuff, please sign up for that. You can also find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Katie Lance Consulting. Tweet me. If you tweet me, I'll tweet you back. And I have 3 more sessions today, so I hope to see all of you later. Thank you so much.